to explain a few things and get a few things off my chest, I've been very sick in like the past like, you know, week and a half, which is why you haven't seen any Bleach reviews out from me in a little while. So I've had a lot of work going on as well. There's just been a lot of things in my life that have been, you know, preventing me from doing my Bleach chapter reviews. I don't just, you know, wake up one day and decide that, oh yeah, the Bleach chapter has come out, I don't want to do a review today. I don't roll like that, I don't work like that, and you guys don't deserve that. So nonetheless, that's not what I give you. I give you my time and dedication, and you in return give me your time and dedication. That's the way things work in this channel, and that's the way things work in Squad X. But nonetheless, I apologize for, you know, for you guys missing out on context. I know you guys have wanted to hear my opinions / thoughts about certain things regarding like the recent chapters, because these chapters have been quite evidently, I wouldn't say shocking, but they've been very good chapters. So nonetheless, allow me to introduce myself for my new subscribers who don't know me. My name is Mimihagi-X, aka your captain, Captain X. I'm also your leader of Squad X and your president of Squad 00. And I'm here today to give you none other than your weekly prescribed Bleach chapter review. Alright, now the chapter I'm going to be reviewing for you is Bleach chapter 616, and I'm not going to pronounce the name because I'll make a complete butcher of it, because I cannot pronounce that to save my life. Anyways, you all know the chapter I'm talking about is 616, but nonetheless, we're going to get into things, but right after that intro. Alright guys, now for those of you, my new subscribers who don't know how I do things, I always put out a prelude to my chapter before the chapter, once I read the chapter. So basically, I'll make a short video saying that, you know, basically I've read the chapter, feel free to ask me your questions concerning the chapter in the comment section below, and I'll answer your questions in my next review. Now, one thing I've noticed is that when I do those, it's the only videos I actually get dislikes on. If surprisingly, I don't get any dislikes on any other videos. The last one I did, I got 3 dislikes. This one I got 1. The likes always, the amount of likes always outshine the amount of dislikes. But I'd like to know, what is it that you dislike about those videos? So if you wouldn't mind telling me that in the comment section below, I've got no problem with you disliking my videos. At the end of the day, I'm here to improve, and it's by your criticism and feedback that's going to help me improve. So nonetheless, if you feel that, you know, I've done something that's upset you or misled you in any kind of way, then feel free to hit me up in the comment section below as to what has upset you about that video, and I can go about changing things according to whatever it is that's upset you. Because at the end of the day, I want to improve, and you want to see me do my best, naturally. So nonetheless, let's get into some of these questions. Alright, now naturally, disclaimer, I'm not going to be able to answer all of the questions because I'm only one man, and I don't want this video to go on too long, otherwise it will never render and upload to YouTube. It will just take forever and it'll keep stopping at like maybe like 80%, which will just inevitably annoy me, and nobody wants me annoyed. Alright, let me see. I'll start from V5 finisher. Alright, do you believe the realm Hallibell set is held prisoner will be relevant now that the Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and the world of the living, in brackets Karakura Town, are breaking down due to the latest recent events? Do I believe it will be relevant? In all honesty, no. The way I see things is that now that the Soul King has been killed, that it's quite evident to see in the chapter that, you know, everything is being affected. The world of the living, Hueco Mundo, the Dangai Precipice world is basically the link in between worlds. So if the link in between worlds is being affected as well, what is to say that a separate pocket dimension is not going to be affected as well? It's just the way I see things. There's no reason as to why that dimension that Hallibell's in would be at all relevant. I don't even know if Hallibell's in a dimension. I believe that she's being held prisoner. So with all that being said, it doesn't seem like it's going to be at all relevant or anything like that. So anyways, let's just move on. Alright, Mr. Soul Madness. Do you think there are more people like Ukitake who has a limb of the Soul King? Also, where do you think Grimmjow is? I mean, I love his character, but I think it's too late for him to show up in the story. You make a good point. Now, let's answer your first question. It's alright. Do I think there are more people like Ukitake? Part of me wants to believe that, because, you know, it seems a bit odd that you have the Soul King, which is basically this figure with no arms and no legs, basically just a torso and a head. That it's immobile, it doesn't move, it basically can't defend itself or anything. But then you have Ukitake basically reveal the Kamikake, which is stated to be the right hand of the king. Game of Thrones reference right there, but you know, the right hand of the king. So it kind of makes me think of Yu-Gi-Oh, where you think, you know, you have the right hand, the left leg, the right leg, you know, like basically all the pieces of the Forbidden One, and maybe something along those lines. So maybe there are more pieces of the Soul King, which means that the Soul King, let me put it this way. The Soul King has the power to foresee everything, and this is stated by Juha. So if the Soul King has the power to foresee everything, do you not think that he will take measures to basically bring himself back once he dies, because he knows he's going to die because he's seen it in the future, which Juha's power is derived from him? Does that not make sense? Like, if I know that I'm going to be killed, would I not take precautions to prevent myself from being killed? Or would I not do something to stop that, knowing that I know exactly how it's going to go down? Of course I would. So there being the right hand of the king, the left hand of the king, left leg, whatever, and different pieces, basically the Soul King splitting up his body into different sections makes perfect sense. And also along with that, splitting up different powers, it makes absolute perfect sense. Because whereas the Soul King seems to be like a deity that, you know, it's just there, it can't defend itself and basically has no power. Its only power seems to be able to stabilize the flow of souls going in and out of the 3 different realms, you know, from the world of living, Hueco and Soul Society, and the Dangai Precipice world, obviously, which is the link in between worlds. So, with all that being said, it just generally makes sense that the right hand would have certain powers, the left hand would have certain powers, and whatever pieces are left would have certain powers. It just makes sense to me. Anyways, now, as onto your next part. Where do you think Grimjaw is? To be honest, I don't know. He was teased in, I believe, I can't remember what chapter it was. I really can't remember what chapter it was. But he was teased earlier, because, like, you know, the guy who put the sword against Ukitaki's face, and then we see, like, his trousers, you know, when Chad and Orihime are training the Hueco. But then there's nothing left to it. So it makes me wonder, like, oh yeah, you got them, basically you got other hollows, you got the Fullbringers and the rest of the boys, and then you got basically got a whole lot of backup, yeah, that people, they just have nothing to fight. Unless it's basically, I've said, unless it's going to end up being like this. I said this from the get-go, that I don't think that Ichigo has the power to take on Yuha. I've always thought that, like, this guy does not have the power to take on Yuha, he cannot defeat him. It's like, as strong as Ichigo is, and yes, we haven't seen his Bankai or basically his abilities and what he can do, but based on, like, what we've seen from Ichigo in the past, his skill set is inadequate to face against Yuha Bark. So, it looks like it's going to take a combined effort from everybody to be able to take down Yuha. And that's why, actually no, I'll cover that later. I'll get back to that later. Alright, so let's move on to somebody else. Let's go with, you know, I've never seen you on my channel before, so I'm going to go with you. DA1455. Do you think Uryu might have some special power like Ukitake, since he was able to survive since he was able to survive Yuha's holy selection? No, I believe that when it comes to Uryu, my theory about Uryu is this: is that Yuha, in the very beginning of the 1,000-year Blood War, he couldn't stay out of the Vandenreich for very, very long. Why? We don't know. But when he named Uryu his successor, he gave him the same power, like same branded of letter, which was A. Now, here's my belief for this. For any of you guys who have watched Naruto, which most of you probably have, knows how Orochimaru works, about how, you know, he's able to corrupt and take over somebody's body, yeah, and use their body as a vessel. I believe that's what Yuha is preparing, because Yuha is a very cruel man. He's very cunning and very he strategizes very well. So would it not make sense here to basically remove that limitation from him by basically making a successor Uryu, who's able to have the body to survive his holy selection, so he generally has a better resistance than most Quincy's, making him a vessel fit for a king? Does that not make sense? Because it makes perfect sense to me. Now let's move on to another question. I'm actually answering a lot of questions today. Let's go with, you know what? Let's go with my good friend War Potential L. Alright, sup bro. With the exception of Ukitake, do you think the War Potentials each possess a limb of the Soul King without even knowing it, such as Zaraki and Aizen, which would explain their unnatural high spiritual pressure compared to other captain level Shinigami? Wow, that is one hell of a theory in itself, and that's something I would have never thought of. So my opinions on that is brand new to me, and if that ends up being the case, well, wow, I commend you, let's put it that way. So now, as for my general opinions on it, I would love for it to go that way. It would make perfect sense, since Zaraki does have the unnaturally high spiritual pressure. Yeah, I get that, but as in terms of Zaraki Kenpachi, it doesn't really fit, for the sense that Zaraki Kenpachi, we understand his backstory now, how his relationship with Unohana, him being the first Kenpachi, yeah, it just makes sense. Like, his story has been tied up pretty well, but that would explain why he has such unnaturally high spiritual pressure. It would make perfect sense, because we see transcendent beings tend to have obviously unnaturally high spiritual pressure. But the difference is, with transcendent beings, you can't sense their spiritual pressure, and that's obviously stated by Aizen, and not as of the case with Ichigo when he was in these finally gets a potential form. So it kind of goes against that a little bit, but I would like to believe that. Now, as for Aizen, he did achieve that state, and the Hogyoku, I know he achieved that state with the help of the Hogyoku, but all the Hogyoku does, it allows people to basically reach their potential. The Hogyoku doesn't essentially grant you new powers. It allows you to get to a certain stage, provided that person has the potential to reach that level in the first place. So Aizen had the potential to reach that level in the first place. So with that bearing in mind, his spiritual pressure is unnaturally high. Ichigo, his spiritual pressure is unnaturally high because we all know that it wasn't so much, oh yeah, Rukia giving him his powers. He was affected by the Hogyoku as well, which also led to him getting his powers. So it makes perfect sense. The Hogyoku doesn't bestow on you new powers. It unlocks your potential, allowing you to obtain the powers that you should have, basically. So with all that being said, it does make sense that you know, the 5 war potentials all basically have different limbs of the Soul King, except one thing. The Soul King seems to be in somewhat like a humanoid form. So with that bearing in mind, he's only missing 4 limbs, but there are 5 war potentials. See what I'm saying? Just by general math alone, it doesn't work. But if it ends up being the case, I swear I highly commend you. Like, last question for the day. Let's go with. Alright, I think I answered your one. Did I answer your one last time? I don't know. Okay. I'll go with this one. We got Andre King. I think I butchered your name, but Andre King. Okay. Do you think the 5 war potentials are the Soul King space? Oh wow, we just had one of those. Yeah, I answered that already, so let's move on to someone else. D.I. Burkle. Okay. Hey Captain. Hope everything's alright with you. You know what? Thanks for asking. You know, everything's okay with me. I've been, like I said in the beginning of this review, I've been a little bit under the weather. You know, I've had a lot of work going on, been a little bit stressed out, but nonetheless, I'm here today to give you a review because, you know, I'm feeling good and I enjoy doing this stuff, and it's you guys that, you know, motivate me to keep doing these videos and basically pushing out content. So, you know, I'm all good. Thanks for asking. I'm glad you're concerned about my well-being, but I'm all good. How are you, brother? Feel free to answer in the comment section below. Alright, now, as for your actual question. So, Aizen is back, and Aizen is back. And what it seems, he will be a part of the heroes. My question is, do you think there will be more villains that are going to show up till the end of the series? Okay, I'm not going to put all of this on the screen because it'll take up the entire screen. Before Aizen, I already thought that there would be more necessary. There would be what? Before Aizen, I already thought that there would be necessary to match our powers. Right, I get you. Okay, I get you. So just elaborate on why you think Aizen would get there. Okay. Alright, in a nutshell, basically asking is what I think about Aizen. So I'm going to answer your question in my general summary of the chapter. So let's just move on from that for now, alright? Alright, so now to keep the consistency and flow going, guys, let's discuss about the chapter. So I've had enough of question time. This chapter was obviously a very good chapter, and for the love of God, I flipping called it. I'd also like to give, you know, a special shout out to the Elite Ace and Charles' Anime World, because for those of you who don't know, and those of you who haven't been long-time subscribers of mine, there's something that I hold called the Captain's Table. And the Captain's Table is where me, the Elite Ace, and Charles' Anime World do a live stream about Bleach, all things concerning Bleach, where we think the series is going, how we feel about the series thus far, and the events that have taken place. And we predicted that, you know, Aizen, that when Shinsuke said he's going to Central 46, he would speak to Aizen, as did many of you predict that. We also, Charles Anime World also predicted in his last review that the Kamekake would basically have a direct correlation to the Soul King, basically inevitably replacing Soul King. He called it 100% word for word. And I've got to commend these two for that. They basically put their theories out prior to this chapter coming out, and it turned out to pass. So nonetheless, I commend people for when they get things right like that. Yeah, you could say it was somewhat predictable, but the way things turned out, you would have never predicted it. But it all ties in and makes perfect sense. So, as for a chapter as a whole, this chapter was a stunning chapter. Would I say it was 10 out of 10? No, I'm not going to say it's 10 out of 10, because for those of you who don't know, I don't give number ratings for chapters because there's no criteria for me to say like, okay, this deserves a 9.5 rather than a 9. Do you understand? It's like, I think this chapter could be great, but the next chapter could be better. And then I'm going to say, oh yeah, this chapter deserves, oh yeah, what, an 11 out of 10? That doesn't make sense. Do you understand? So I don't do that. So I'm going to say that this chapter was a stunning chapter. It was very good, like, you know, making a reader want to read on. It's one of those chapters that leaves you asking questions, suspense built up, tension, like what's going to happen next, things need to happen fast. It was a great chapter and a great read. And, you know, it's an even better chapter than last week. And I hope that Kubo can continue on basically this, you know, hype roller coaster. But nonetheless, those are my general thoughts about the chapter. Now, as for Aizen returning, I believe that the series needed Aizen to return, because in the very beginning, Yuha seems to be very like all powerful, nobody can touch him. I said from the get-go that I don't believe Ichigo can defeat him, but Aizen was able to basically throw off his sense of time and balance just by talking with him. So we don't know if Aizen still has access to his Zanpakuto. We don't know what the Hogyoku has done to him in terms of his powers, because in the fight against Ichigo, he seemed to not really use Kurikosugi other than use it for a blade. So bearing that in mind, Aizen is the perfect. Aizen's a wild card, but he's also the perfect counter for Yuha Bark, because he's able to throw off his 5 senses. Your senses include sight. Yuha's powers derive around sight and foreseeing things, basically in precog. So messing with your 5 senses is obviously the ultimate counter against that. To be honest with you, Aizen's powers is the ultimate counter against many things, but nonetheless, that's just generally that. Alright guys, I think I've rambled on enough. This video is going for about 15 minutes, 35 seconds at this point, 36, 37, 38, you get it. Anyways guys, I think it's time that I wrap things up. I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's chapter review, and I'm very grateful for you guys for keeping your patience with me, staying subbed, and just asking me what's up and being concerned about my health and well-being. Like, I'm very grateful to have you guys, and I couldn't ask for any more subscribers. Like, even if my channel never grew from this point today, I'd still be satisfied for the fact that I have 544 dedicated people that watch my channel, that tune into my videos week in, week out. What more can I ask for? Anyways guys, I believe I've rambled on enough. It's time to do the closing bits. It's your boy Shin Megami X, aka Captain X. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's chapter review, and I'm signing out. And as always, my people, take care and peace. But there's one thing I'd like you to do before I go, and that is keep it 99+1, and that's on the